Before this story begins, imagine being too small to fight what's inside your body and being found by someone who doesn't ask questions, doesn't offer words, just stays. He's not just a dog. He's a shield, a reason to keep breathing. If this story moves you, like this video to honor the animals who heal what medicine can't, share it with someone who believes real heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear a vest. Comment if a dog has ever helped you through pain. Subscribe for more powerful stories of loyalty, survival, and silent courage. Because sometimes the greatest rescue doesn't come from outside. It begins with one paw laid gently across your chest. The rain had been falling for hours. Outside, cars splashed past the hospital in waves. Inside, machines blinked quietly in a dim room on the 3rd floor. And in the center of it all lay a little girl named Ellie, 8 years old, diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, lungs too small, breaths too short. Spirit, once loud, now fading. She hadn't laughed in weeks, hadn't opened her eyes since the last collapse. The nurses whispered, "She's holding on, but barely." Her mother stayed at her side, reading old storybooks with a voice that cracked halfway through each sentence. Nothing reached her, until a sound, soft, rhythmic, entered the hallway. Paws on linoleum, a breath that was steady, presence that needed no words. Ranger, K9 unit, recently retired. German Shepherd, trained in rescue, recovery, and now, something more fragile, staying when it hurts. He entered the room, paused at the threshold, watched the rise and fall of the girl's chest, barely there. Then he moved, silently, deliberately, and placed one paw on the edge of her blanket. He didn't bark, didn't whine. He just waited. And as the storm rumbled outside, a flicker of movement passed across Ellie's hand. One twitch, then two. She didn't open her eyes, but her fingers curled slightly, toward the warmth at her side, because something deep inside her still knew. She wasn't alone anymore. Before the hospital, Ellie was the girl who ran faster than her shoes could keep up. She climbed trees barefoot, collected bugs in mason jars, and laughed from her stomach, loud, unfiltered, wild. But she also coughed, a lot. At first, her parents thought it was asthma. Then the test results came. Cystic fibrosis, a genetic disease, a lifetime of thick mucus, endless meds, and hospital rooms. Still, Ellie fought. She named her nebulizer Nebby, decorated her oxygen tank with glittery stickers, told the nurses knock-knock jokes during IV drips. But over time, even Ellie's light dimmed. The infections came more often, the hospital stays grew longer, and the breaths shorter. The doctor said, "We need to prepare for the possibility. Her lungs may not hold." Her mother refused to believe it. Her father cried only in parking lots. Ellie, she just stopped asking what day it was, stopped counting birthday balloons taped to her IV pole, stopped smiling, until the day Ranger entered her room, and everything she had buried under silence, grief, fear, the longing to be seen without being pitied, stirred quietly beneath her ribs. Ranger was born into purpose, selected at 8 weeks, trained for detection, obedience, pursuit. He learned fast, moved faster, served 7 years with the K9 unit, clearing buildings, finding missing hikers, tracking armed suspects through darkness. He never lost focus, never missed a command. Until the fire. It was supposed to be routine, An abandoned warehouse. Smoke. Heat. Screams. Ranger found the boy, curled in the back, unconscious. He pulled him out just in time, but during the escape, debris struck his hip. Nothing life-threatening, but enough to slow him, and slowing down was not allowed. Medically retired, the department said. His handler, Officer Keene, fought it. But policy didn't bend. Ranger was placed in a quiet foster home. No alarms, no radios, just long days and longer silences. He paced near the door, waited for instructions that never came. Until Officer Keene found a program, Project Second Lead, pairing retired police dogs with children in long-term pediatric care. The moment Ranger stepped into the hospital, he changed. The barking stopped. The pacing faded. He became still, present. And when they led him to room 318, Ellie's room, he didn't hesitate. He walked straight in and chose her, because some dogs aren't done saving lives. They're just waiting to find the ones who still need saving. The third day Ranger came to Ellie's room, he didn't stop at the foot of the bed like before. He jumped. Not high, not forceful, just enough to land softly beside her. Ellie didn't flinch. She opened her eyes, slightly, and whispered her first word in 2 days. "Hey." Ranger turned his head. She reached up, fingers trembling, and placed them lightly on the fur between his ears. "You don't smell like a hospital," she murmured. "You smell like outside." Ranger didn't move. He let her explore, touching his ear, his collar, the badge on his vest. Then she said something that made the nurse drop her clipboard. "Can he stay through the night?" The team hesitated. Hospital policy was clear, but Ranger didn't wait for approval. He curled against Ellie's side, his body molded to her frame. Her monitors slowed, her breathing deepened, and for the first time in weeks, Ellie fell asleep without sedation. A nurse leaned toward the doctor and whispered, "We've been trying for weeks. He did it in 15 minutes. And just like that, a dog trained to chase danger had found a new mission. Stay, breathe, be. Ranger came every day. He waited patiently through dressing changes, sat still during oxygen treatments, laid beside Ellie during her worst coughing fits, never flinching, never moving away. One day, the staff rolled in a portable X-ray machine. Ellie grew tense. Her fingers curled into the blanket, eyes wide, heart rate climbing. Ranger stood, walked to her side, and gently placed his head across her chest. Her vitals stabilized. The technician whispered, "He's like a living sedative." Ellie began requesting Ranger in the morning before asking for food. She brushed his coat slowly with a soft baby hairbrush, talked to him in barely there whispers. "They say I might need a transplant, but I think my heart works fine when you're around." One afternoon, her mom brought in an old photo album. Ellie hadn't looked at it in months. This time, she opened it, because Ranger lay beside her, watching every page with her. She pointed to a picture of herself on a swing, her hair longer, cheeks fuller. "That's me when I could run. I think she's still in there." Ranger licked her hand, as if to say, "I know she is." That night, she whispered to the nurse, "Can you put his name on my board? Not just as a visitor, as part of my care team." The hospital whiteboard above Ellie's bed usually listed her meds, vitals, goals. Now it read, "Today's care team. Dr. Patel, Nurse Alyssa, Mom." Ranger doctors started scheduling Ranger's visits like medication rounds. "He lowers cortisol. He reduces the need for sedation. She breathes better when he's near." But Ranger did more than help Ellie heal. He reminded her who she was. When a new nurse tried to carry Ellie to the bathroom, Ellie shook her head. "I can walk, if Ranger goes with me." And she did. 10 steps. shaky but proud. Ranger pacing beside her, step for step. Her mom recorded it. The first time Ellie had walked without a mobility aid in 3 months. That night, Ellie and Ranger curled up on the hospital couch together. She drew him a badge with crayons. Detective of Feelings. When Officer Keene came to visit, he smiled through misty eyes. "I thought he was done being a hero," he said softly. "But I think this is the bravest thing he's ever done." Ellie looked up and whispered, "He doesn't just protect people. He reminds them why they want to stay." It started with a cough. Deep, hollow, and wrong. Then came the fever. Within hours, Ellie was on oxygen, her lungs filling faster than the machines could pull it back. Doctors rushed in. Nurses hung bags of medication. Her mother held her hand. "Stay with me, baby. Stay." But Ellie's eyes fluttered closed. Her chest heaved. Alarms blared. The doctor called for an ICU transfer. Amidst the chaos, Ranger was led out of the room, per hospital protocol. He pulled hard against the leash, whined, refused to leave the doorway. Then, as if pulled by something unseen, he broke free, darted past the crash cart, past the nurses, and leapt onto the bed. Gasps echoed. "Get him off!" someone shouted. But he didn't bark, didn't move. He lay across Ellie's chest, just like he had the first time. His weight gentle, his head tucked under her chin. The room quieted. The monitor, still erratic, began to settle. Slightly, rhythmically. Dr. Patel paused, eyes wide. "Don't move him," she said. "He's grounding her." Minutes passed. The fever began to drop. Ellie's shallow breath deepened. Her fingers moved, barely, and one hand curled into the fur at Ranger's neck. Because when machines failed, and medicine hesitated, Ranger stayed. The room was still now. The alarms had stopped. The chaos faded. Only the soft hum of the oxygen line remained, and Ranger's slow, steady breathing beside her. Ellie stirred first, eyes barely open, lips dry. Her mother rushed to her side. "Hi, baby. I'm here. We're here." Ellie looked down. Ranger hadn't moved. She reached up, weak but sure, and placed her hand on his ear. "You stayed," she whispered. Tears fell freely. Nurses in the doorway wept silently. Even Dr. Patel turned away to hide her face. Officer Keene arrived with a new badge, pinned it gently to Ranger's vest. K-9 Ranger Unit, Courage. Rank, Guardian of Breath. Ellie smiled for the first time in days. Small, tired, real. That night, they allowed Ranger to sleep on the bed again. No questions asked, and for the first time since her lungs collapsed. Ellie slept, not because of meds, not because of exhaustion, but because she felt safe. Spring came slowly, and with it, strength. Ellie's lungs weren't perfect. Her oxygen came in smaller doses, but her steps, they were hers. She walked the halls now. IV pole in one hand, Ranger's leash in the other. Nurses made her an honorary badge. Chief of Smiles, room 318. Children who used to cry before procedures now asked if the dog girl could visit. She sat beside them, read stories aloud, and when someone was scared, she'd pat Ranger's back and whisper, "It's okay. He stays." One afternoon, a boy just diagnosed with CF looked at Ellie and asked, "Do you think I'll be okay?" She knelt beside him. "I think you will, if you have someone who stays." That night, she added something new to her wall of drawings. A picture of herself with short hair, arms outstretched, and Ranger sitting like a knight beside her. Above it, she wrote in bold crayon letters, "Not done yet." And nobody, not the doctors, not the nurses, not even the disease, dared argue with that. Ellie didn't ring the end of treatment bell with doctors watching. She rang it with Ranger beside her. Her hand shook on the rope, but her voice was steady. For everyone who's still fighting, this ring is for you. The bell echoed through the pediatric wing like thunder wrapped in sunlight. Staff clapped. Other patients leaned into their doorways, smiling. Ranger barked, once, sharp, proud. That same afternoon, a local news crew came to film a story called "The Dog Who Stayed." They asked Ellie what made her strong. She looked into the camera, eyes glowing. Not strength, just someone who didn't leave when I was at my worst. Her story went viral. A children's book deal followed. Ellie titled it Room 318. It began not with a diagnosis, but with a knock at the door and the soft sound of paws on tile. In every school visit, every hospital she toured later, Ellie wore a silver charm on a chain, a tiny badge, with the name Ranger. Some battles are fought with medicine, some with machines, but the hardest ones are fought in silence, in breath, in staying. Ranger didn't carry weapons. He didn't speak. He didn't promise it would be okay. He simply showed up, every day, every hour, when hope felt too heavy. Ellie didn't survive because she was fearless. She survived because someone believed in her without asking her to be strong first. Because sometimes the real rescue doesn't come with sirens. It comes with soft paws and the kind of loyalty that says, "I'm not going anywhere."